I'm joined by the Shadow Work and Pensions Secretary, Jonathan Ashworth. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can I just pick up what Nadim Zahawi's just been saying? What is Labour's view about Putin's intentions? We can't know. He's right to say that Putin is unpredictable. But do you think we need to be prepared for the possibility that he could use nuclear weapons?
Well, of course, we have to be prepared for all eventualities. I'm not going to speculate on the mind of Putin. I'm not remotely in a position to do so. But clearly, we need to continue to support Ukraine in every way that we can. We need to work internationally to ensure that pressure is continually applied to Putin. And of course, yes, we have to be prepared. But look, I've read experts. It's pretty serious. I'm not downplaying it remotely, but look, it's not for me to speculate on the psychology of Putin and what he may or may not do. But obviously, we need to be prepared.
All right, let's deal with psychology closer to home. I know you study. Labour has said that it would not have proposed the abolition of the 45p rate. Labour has said that it will keep the 1p off income tax if it comes to power. It will also keep the cap on energy bills and spend £2 billion on NHS staff. You also support the investments proposed by the Tories in skills on what they call supply side. Other than the windfall tax, what concrete measures would a Labour government take to deal with the economic situation that the Conservatives have not taken?
Well, the economic situation is perilous at the moment because that budget 3 weeks ago or so wasn't just a budget which gave £45 billion worth of unfunded tax cuts disproportionately to the better off in society. Because there was no validation of the plans of that budget by the independent OBR, it led to turmoil on the markets, it led to gilt yields rising, it led to a run on pension funds, and now mortgage costs are soaring. So people coming off a mortgage in this year, about 1.8 million of them will be doing that in the next 12 months or so, are facing a mortgage increase of hundreds of pounds every month as a consequence. So we are in a particular perilous moment because of decisions that were taken by Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng 3 weeks ago. It's why we've called for that kamikaze budget to be reversed, because we need to build a dynamic economy, absolutely, but we need stability in our economy. Instead, what we've got is a reckless approach, a spike in borrowing costs, and now the government, as we understand it, are talking about asking working mums and dads, disabled people, poorer pensioners, to pay the price for that recklessness.
If I may say so, Sky viewers know all of that because we're reporting it all the time. What Sky viewers have no idea about is what you would do. So let me ask you again. What would Labour do, other than the windfall tax, which would only last a year? What would Labour do to tackle all of the problems you've enumerated that the Conservatives are not now doing?
Well, actually, at our party conference just 2 weeks ago, we outlined how we're going to rebuild our economy, make our economy more dynamic and spread prosperity and opportunity. For example, we're going to invest in the green technologies of the future, not only because...
So are they?
No, well, they're not. The problem is they're not, are they? If they were...
No,
they're not. No, they're not.
They've given you the numbers that they're going to invest.
No, they haven't.
And it runs into billions.
No, they haven't. They've degraded our gas storage facilities. They've criticised solar panels in fields. I mean, I remember they're refusing to go for onshore wind, so they're not investing in the green technology of the future.
They're not refusing to go for offshore wind.
Onshore.
They haven't made a decision on that.
Oh, come on.
But anyway,
No.
Okay, I'll tell you,
you're asking me a question.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you another 30 seconds.
No,
and say
I'm answering your
everything you'd like to say about the Tories, and then let's come back to Labour. 30 seconds to tell us how bad the Tories are.
I'm not talking about the Tories. I'm talking about what Labour are doing. We're going to invest in these green technologies, not only because in this period of international instability...
How much are you going to invest?
£28 billion.
OK. You know, Rachel Reeves told us that. She told me that, actually, about 6 months ago. OK, so what's new? About the cost of living, about inflation? We're now in a different situation. You yourself have just said that. What would you do about this situation that Tories don't do?
I tell you what we will do. We're going to reform our welfare system to get people back to work. The 600,000 over 50s have left the labour market since the pandemic. Those leaving the labour market for reasons of sickness, is now rising at its highest rate ever and is at a 20-year high. And yet we don't have a Job Centre Plus system or a welfare system that is supporting these people to go back into work. Many of them say they will return to work if they're given the correct support to do it. And yet the government are not giving those people any support whatsoever. Now, if you can get people back to work, that is a supply-side reform which helps...
What does that support look like? What is it? Is it money? Is it advice? What is it?
Well, some of it is to do with advice and employment services. So, for example, if you're in your 50s and you've left the labour market, it may be that you are looking for a flexible type of work. It may be that you're caring for grandchildren, but also caring for a loved one, a mum or a dad or a partner who might have dementia or might have had a stroke, and you're looking for a flexible work option. At the moment, you can't walk into the job centre and ask for help to find that job for you. So I want to reform the way job centres work. I want to reform the way in which we do employment services in this country to get more people into work, and those who are currently on benefits in low-paid work, I want to give them the help so they can work more hours or move into better-paid jobs. So actually, we've got a big programme of reform to our social security system, which will help more people into work, which is the type of supply-side reform that will actually bring inflation down, stabilise the cost of living and grow our economy.
All right, look, I mean, we could carry on about that. I'm not sure I can still quite see the difference here, but let's talk about...
Well, there's a big difference because the Conservative government aren't doing that.
OK.
And there's a million vacancies in the economy.
All I can tell you is that they will sit here and tell me that they are doing it, but
they won't. I promise you they won't. I absolutely promise you that they won't.
I've heard it. They said it. Anyway, let's talk about something that matters today, and that is the SNP have their conference. We are pretty sure that they will call for a second independent referendum. If Labour were in government, would it grant the SNP a second referendum?
No.
OK. The Scottish government, let me ask you another thing, because it is thought unlikely that that Labour will get an outright majority. They're looking at the polls today, that's possible. But let's say that the most likely outcome here is that Labour would need some support from the SNP. What are your relations like right now on issues like, for example, the gender recognition question? The Scottish National Party says that it plans to make it legal for an individual born with a typical male body to have their gender changed without any professional assessment or medical intervention. That's what they want to do. Will Labour support that bill?
Well, hang on. The whole premise of your question was that Labour cannot form a majority. Now, I'm not one to pray in opinion polls because I believe the only opinion polls that matter is the one on election day.
You've told me that before, yes.
On election day. But I'm afraid the premise of your question is that Labour won't get a majority. Well, the opinion polls are not showing that at the moment, as indeed you did concede when you asked me the question.
I've acknowledged that.
So, look, right, we are campaigning for, and we are hoping to win the trust of the British people to form a majority Labour government. So whatever the SNP policy is here or there or everywhere is irrelevant. We're going to form a majority Labour government in order to rebuild our public services, in order to get people back to work and actually to support people through this cost of living crisis.
Just to come back to my specific question, will the Labour Party in the Scottish Parliament vote for this piece of legislation?
I mean, I presume I don't know is the honest answer, but I presume my colleagues in the Scottish Labour Party are broadly supportive of changes to support trans people who are a very marginalised group in society, a very stigmatised group in society, and have often treated appallingly.
But including male-bodied people going into women's refuges, for example? And women's prisons?
Well, is that a specific
That's what that
item
legislation would allow.
Well, look, my colleagues in the Scottish Labour Party in the Parliament will no doubt have opinions on this and will respond. I mean, I'm not a member of the Scottish Parliament.
All right, John Ashworth, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning.